I've been on home dialysis for 9 years now. At the very beginning, I was scared of the thought of being on dialysis, especially after having a working transplant for so long. The shock of that failing and the shock of being reliant on dialysis again, that was quite a big hurdle to overcome. And it was so difficult, in fact, that for the first few visits to the dialysis unit, I found it really difficult to even look at the machine and be around people who were on dialysis. But slowly I got used to it. And what helped me was being more involved in my care. So learning about the machine, what each little knob or wheel does, learning the jobs of every component of the machine then really helped me because I could understand it better. The biggest hurdle for me was needling. So I have had the biggest needle phobia as far back as I can remember, even to the point where I had to be held down as a child to have blood taken because I was so terrified. And even to the point that when I was pregnant with my little boy, I wouldn't consent to an epidural, so I needed to have a general anaesthetic to have a cesarean. So my needle phobia was huge. But with the support of the nurses in the hospital, I learned to needle myself. I was really shocked. I didn't think I'd ever be able to manage it, but I did. And it was just taking it little steps at a time. So starting by, for example, cleaning my arm. And then once I've really understood that and really mastered that, then moving on to the next step. So I think that's the best advice I can give really is break everything down into little tasks, because when you look at the whole picture, it can be quite overwhelming. But by breaking it down into little tasks, you're constantly achieving something, and as you're going through the training.
Quite nervous doing it by myself and stuff in the beginning, but I was needling myself for a while because I had a bit of a phobia in needles, and I felt better doing it myself. The first time was really hard to do it, sort of thing, but after you've done it a couple of times, it's all right. I move a lot in my sleep. I was really nervous about taking the needles out, but since the first day I needled myself, I don't move my arm at all, which I was surprised with because I was quite scared. Because sometimes I used to wake up the other side of the bed and stuff, because I was that restless. But once I needled my arm, it just seemed my body knew to stay still.
The home dialysis I do at night time. It takes about 15 to 20 minutes to set it up, and then about similar to that in the morning I'm off it, and then I'm on it for like 8 hours or thereabouts. I've got days to myself, whether it be sunbathing out in the garden or working or whatever the case may be. My days, the daytime is my time.
It does help that I suppose that I'm going to call myself a control freak. I don't mean it in a negative way.
She does.
I like to know that Ian has the best treatment. I want the best for him.
To be fair, it was told out of the blue. I wasn't expecting it. Not so quick anyway, because I do have regular checkups, regular blood tests, and it just happened out the blue. So we went for a pre-op, and that's when they told me I was going in on the 30th. Was it the 30th? Yeah, I think it was the 30th. And that was a bit of a shock because I didn't expect it so quick. So they explained everything, which was great, because everything was explained and the reason why they was doing it in case we had another lockdown, and if I needed to go on dialysis, it was in the catheter was put in. But if I keep myself active, which I do, I keep myself active, I keep busy and then concentrate on other things. Because I don't think about this every day. I don't, because it'll take over my life, and I don't want to do that. So I want to carry on doing what I do in my own family. I think, yes, I am scared. I am scared of starting dialysis. I think a lot of it's to do with my dad, watching my dad on it. And I've got to respect that my dad was a lot older than I am. But yes, I am terrified. I'm scared of starting. I don't know how long I'll be on it. I'm hoping I'm not going to be on dialysis for too long, but it does scare the life out of me. I have told the nurses this. I've talked to the renal team about it as well. And everyone's assuring me that everything will be fine. You know, once you get into it, everything will be fine. So they say, and they do explain it, the renal team. And I think once I do start that first session of doing it, I think I'll be fine after that. I think it's the unknown of doing it yourself. It's all right watching somebody else, like Dad and that, but when it comes to doing it yourself, it's totally different. I think that's what I'm getting my head around. That's what it's going to be, everyday life of doing this every night, and hopefully, fingers crossed, that everything is going to go okay. I am hoping that the dialysis is going to give me a bit more, because I'm scared of being ill. That's what I'm frightened of. I don't want to be ill as my dad was. And I think that's what scares me more than anything. I have talked to the renal team about being ill. Just don't let me get as ill as my dad. Try not let me get as ill as my dad, because that's what worries me most. And then having to rely on family members to do things for me, because I'm not used to that. It's like when I had the catheter and I come out of hospital, everyone's doing things, and I didn't really like it, to be honest, because it's not me. I know me, and they know me. So I think it's relying on family members that frightens me the most, that if I'm poorly, they're going to watch me. And I think that scares me. It really does. It frightens me, relying on my partner. And oh no, it's like my daughter as well and my son. I don't want to be a burden to them. I don't, even with my partner, I don't want to be a burden to them. I don't, because I want to be me. I think that's what I'm more afraid of, not being me, because I want to be me. I want to be the person that my mum and dad raised me to be. You know, like looking after my family, looking after my home and things like that. That's me, running here, running there. And it frightens me that I'm not going to be one day doing all that. And that bothers me. It does bother me, I'll be honest. It's like when I'm cooking, I won't allow anyone in the kitchen. Go shopping, I won't allow anyone to come with me when I go food shop. I'd rather go on my own and get it done and get back and then do other things. I'm always on the go.
On dialysis 19 years. Home dialysis, I think about 8 years now. Find it much better. It fits my lifestyle. It enables, well, I dialyse every day. Every morning I get out of bed, come straight into our bathroom, start my machine, and by 10:30, 11 o'clock, I've done 2.5 hours actually dialysing. So it's about a 3-hour process, and then I'm free for the day. But by dialysing daily, I can eat and drink more or less normally without fear of potassium levels being too high and things like that. All the pitfalls that most people have on the 3 times a week. So it suits me, it suits my lifestyle. I am retired, so I don't have to worry about work. But I suppose I could do it when I came home from work. Sarah saw me as a potential candidate and press ganged me into going home. I didn't want to, I must admit, but she's very persuasive, and she trained me. But after 9 months, I came home. The machine was installed, everything was done for me, didn't cost us a penny. There was a debate where to put the machine, and in the end, they took the shower out of the bathroom and sighted me in there. It's a bit cramped, but we managed. It was so nerve-wracking to start with, coming home. The nurses came with me for the first fortnight. Used to come out every day, more or less, to check on me and to build up my confidence. And eventually, everything was fine. And for me, it's definitely the best way. And I would hate to have to go back to 3 days a week at Bangor.
When I first went to see Sarah and them, and I was waiting in the waiting room for them, and then all the people were coming in to have their dialysis in the hospital, and I could see they were much older than I was, you know what I mean? And I was thinking, oh, I don't want this for myself now. I'm too young to come here and do that. And, I was a bit like, oh, is it going to be like this? But then Sarah and them speak to you, they tell you, you know, no, it's not, because, you know, you can go this way, and if this works for you, that'll be great for you, be better for you, and you can do this. And they explain to you everything, every step of the way. They do. They are absolutely brilliant, to be honest. Any problems now, if I pick the phone, you know, they're always on the other end of the phone, and yeah, no problem at all.
I was originally on dialysis in Marston Hospital. At that time, this is going back to 2005 now, there was just two choices of either dialysis in the unit or peritoneal dialysis at home and work. Initially, I was going to go for the APD, but I considered it in my busy day then. I thought it might be better not to put my health at risk through work, but to go on dialysis after work. So subsequently, that's what I did. I did that for 4 years before I was talked into, and I say talked into, looking at home dialysis. I was not constantly approached, but all patients were talked to frequently in Marston Hospital about the possibility of home dialysis and talking it through. And the one thing that put me off, I didn't want to know, was needling. And in fact, when I was on dialysis in Marston Hospital, I never once watched the nurse putting a needle in. I just couldn't. I just turned away. But after this 4 years or so, it got me thinking about quality of life and stuff like that, because there was I also had to go from full-time work to part-time work. So all these sort of thoughts were going around, and I decided to have a look at it more. And I came across the infamous GILLIAN'S, who could do nothing else but talk me into it. As soon as she mentioned it, I joined with her enthusiasm, and we decided to go ahead and be the first dialysis patient in Wales, and a bit of a guinea pig as well. So, and I remember starting one night. Gail was here till about 10 o'clock, making sure everything was okay, and I wanted to get to sleep. And anyway, Gail left me, and she didn't sleep that night at all, but I did. And we started on the journey. And I must say that it very soon became apparent that I was starting to feel better. There were really noticeable things, like my diet could change, my medication reduced quite a lot, and better inside, and I could do more things. I played more golf than I could. I did more gardening, and I didn't think about going back to work, that was for sure. But it just got into that regular pattern, which was great, and that lasted for about a year. And then I was on dialysis, strangely enough, on a Monday night, and 2 o'clock in the morning, 2:10, the phone rang. I remember it well. I picked it up, and don't panic, this is the dialysis nurse, etc., in Cardiff. And go and have a shower, have a cup of tea, and then come up here. So I ended up in Cardiff on a Tuesday morning, 5 o'clock, and I was lucky enough to have a successful transplant later that afternoon. And that really changed things again then. I now go to clinic about every 4 months, and thankfully the blood tests are fine, and we carry on with life. I live on my own now. My wife passed away, and if it wasn't for lockdown, my normal sort of life would be golf twice a week, a lot of gardening, walking, going out, meeting friends, and that sort of thing.
When I first started dialysis this second time, when I was 21 or nearly 22, I originally started training in the hospital, and I was training 3 days a week. So I was getting 12 hours of dialysis a week. And I felt a little bit better than pre-dialysis, but I didn't feel well. So when I actually went home and did home dialysis, I originally went home to do daily home dialysis. So I was dialysing 5 or 6 days a week, but 4 hours each day. So on average, I was getting about 25 hours a week dialysis. So I was feeling more well than what I did in hospital, but still I didn't feel at peak wellness then, or I didn't feel that I was able to do everything that I was able to do years before. Then I switched to nocturnal dialysis. So now I do 8 hours of dialysis 6 nights a week. So I'm getting on average 48 hours of dialysis a week. And I feel very well. I've got a lot more energy. My appetite is better. I find my skin is better. My hair is better. My nails actually grow now, whereas they didn't grow before. So I'm noticing all of these improvements to my health and my well-being. I don't experience so much mind fog anymore. I feel a lot more alert and able to participate in activities. So I think it's definitely evident that the more hours of dialysis you get, the better you feel. And I'll always remember one of the nurses in the renal unit describing to me why this is the case. And so she said that a healthy person's kidneys will filter their blood and remove waste and fluid 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. But when you're on hospital dialysis, you're only having that filtration for 12 hours each week. So you can understand then why you don't feel so great. But when you're on nocturnal dialysis, you're having dialysis at such regular intervals that you don't really get the chance to build up those toxins, so you experience much less symptoms.
The renal dialysis is a little bit more heavy on you. Then I was much more tired and things. I couldn't walk to the next village. Now I walk all day and go on my bike and stuff, so much healthier at home because you get more dialysis.
Where there's been in the past when we've gone on holiday, the machine comes with us, we get on with it, and Ian might, we might have been travelling in the evening or late, and he's had dialysis in the daytime instead of the night time. That flexibility part of it and the freedom to do to have the treatment the way you want it was a massive plus for us.
Right, I have a choice between the hospital or at home. It's certainly more comfortable at home. I can sit here, I can have a cup of tea whenever I want. I've got my dog here as well. I can't take him into the hospital, right? But he knows he's not allowed in the bedroom. So, because of it being a sterile area, obviously.
I don't really know why they want to do it in hospitals. Yeah, see, that's another thing. Having it at home is great because you could go on it at night time and be hooked up, go to sleep as normal, and then get up in the morning. Then you're done, and then you've got the rest of the day to go free or do what you want, go shopping, spend time with your family. So in the hospital, it's different, where you've got to go to the hospital and spend hours at the hospital, just sitting there with the dialysis. So I'd rather not do that. I'd rather not be in the hospital for 4 or 5 hours, maybe longer, having dialysis when I can do it at home and at night time as well, which is brilliant because you're asleep anyway. So the machine does everything for you. So it's ideal. I think it's ideal.
Well, I didn't really understand the process. It's quite complicated, and I didn't know whether I would be able to manage it myself. And when I came home, There's so many things that can go wrong. Well, you've heard the alarm go off now while I've been talking to you. And it's just a matter of confidence, really. As I say, we're very lucky at Bangor because we have the Skype connection. And so I've always got that to fall back on. And I suppose that knowing that was the thing that got me through, really. I'm quite relaxed about everything now. In fact, I can't go a day without dialysing. I feel guilty. Obviously, I can have days off if I want, and I do. As I say, our in-laws live in Port Paul, so if we go down there, we go for a couple of days. And so I will dialyse in the morning, drive down there, have the day off, have a second day, come back, and in the evening dialyse when we get back.
And with this as well, you know, the girls explained to me your life, because I was thinking, oh, my life's, because the sort of life I had before, we used to go on foreign holidays maybe 3 times a year if we were lucky, you know. And then all of a sudden, when I was having this put in, I was thinking, oh, will I ever go on holiday again? Will I ever do this again? And now it doesn't really bother me if I ever go or not. But Sarah and all the other nurses there said to me, but it's not a problem, because if you want to go on holiday, let us know in advance and we can get everything delivered to your hotel. I know that is absolutely amazing. So my life really hasn't, you know, it hasn't stopped because of dialysis. So once COVID is over, I might actually think of going. We'll see. I would say the first 8 weeks, our sleeping pattern was awful because we could be up all night listening to it because you're not used to it, and that's it. But now we go, so try this. You can try loads of different things that you can do just to make it a bit quieter, you know, or a towel under the machine for this. And the girls have told us, and yeah, it is much quieter now. We sleep on only the fluid that goes into you goes on a warm, sort of on like a hot plate. So it warms up to a certain temperature before it goes inside of you. Because if it was cold, it would shock your body and it wouldn't work. So because it's warmer, it keeps everything how it works. Apparently, Sarah tells me it's like a tea bag. So when you put a tea bag in and it's warm, in hot water, it takes everything out. And this is the same. It takes everything out and then you draw it out. That's how it works. So it really is good. It really is good. And another thing as well, I think some different dialysis, some people can only drink so much liquid. I can drink whatever, whatever. Not like that. I do have a pint because, like Sarah said to me, you've got to have a life, Bevan. Don't not drink. You know what I mean? But I don't get drunk or anything like that. I just maybe have, say, 2 or 3, maybe depending. But most people I know, they like this lady that I knew on that. She could only drink so much liquid in a day, and you know then it's quite hard because. See if you're just having a cup of tea there now, well, you'd have to watch how much tea you drink in a day. That's a bit of a shock for everybody else. So for this one, you just live normal. I live a normal life. Normal life.
So in my job, we get a lot of contact from patients pre-dialysis, but also when they're making choices about what treatment they would like or changing their treatment options. So a lot of patients report that they feel overwhelmed with the amount of information. They find it difficult to separate the modalities of dialysis, and they all seem to compile into one. So the support that we offer is peer support, where a patient who's been through a similar experience will then share their experience with the referring patient. But personally, I think one of the main themes is fear. First of all, fear of pain and medical procedures. But secondly, fear of responsibility. So when you're at home, I think patients are afraid that they are on their own, and maybe they don't always know the extent of the support available.
Confidence thing, mainly, I should think. There's a confidence thing with me, personally. I think a lot of people feel secure because they're in a hospital environment to dialyse, I think.
I don't understand why people don't want to do it at all. Done that. I prefer it because I've got my family around me and I'm more relaxed. I know I'll be more relaxed at home. It's a good thing. I don't understand why people don't opt for it.
Why isn't home dialysis just offered all across Wales and taken up more? And I think within that, the bit that surprised me was the, choose my words carefully, but lack of clinician focus on it. There does seem to be this, from what I've picked up, almost a reticence to mention home dialysis by lots of people, and that's across Wales, not just any specific area. There were clinicians that really took this on board themselves and saw the benefits to their patients. So they became drivers of it without a doubt, and they made things happen. And the results, I think, the numbers of people that have gone through in Morriston to home dialysis speaks for that. And I would assume then that other centres just didn't have those people that had either taken it on board or didn't want to take it on board. Could, I think, be mentioned simply because the patient is frightened to go in home and doing it themselves. I think they might not admit that, but they might say, oh, well, I'd like to do it, but I can't get this, I haven't got a room or whatever. So that's a possibility in there as well. I think so. Because it's, as a patient, a lot of this is the unknown. You're talked about it, you read about it, but you know, you can't imagine doing it to a great extent. And one of the things that I've picked up since I've been working with Paul Popham, and before that the Wales Kidney Patients Association, was just being able to talk to patients, someone who's done it. And I think I've spoken to quite a few hundred patients who have been on dialysis through the centres since I've started this work. And a number I spoke to about home dialysis, and you can see the interest is there, but the fear is there as well.
There are a lot of barriers, I think, to patients choosing home dialysis, whether they are personal barriers or organisation-wide ones. But one of the main things that I think is important, when patients are on home dialysis, they're very well. So they very rarely enter the hospital, which means that there's not much contact happening between in-centre patients and home patients. So the in-centre patients don't really get the opportunity to see how well these home patients are. So I think a good idea would be increasing the opportunity for those patients to meet, to share stories, and to hear about the alternative types of dialysis. Another important introduction that I think would be great is a try before you buy service. So I believe that if a patient tried home dialysis or nocturnal dialysis for 1 week, they would feel so well by the end of that week that they would definitely look to change to that type of dialysis. So I believe if hospitals provided that service, they may then get more referrals and more patients choosing home. Clinicians who are very proactive in providing home dialysis information, and they're very keen to get the best option for patients. But in some cases, because it's a clinician offering that information, patients will disregard it. So I think when that information is coming from someone who has actually experienced that themselves, the patient is more able to visualize how it will affect them, or how they can make that change themselves.
When we have, when in the beginning, there's one thing that I think we would have benefited from greatly, and that would be maybe some kind of, I'm going to say, patient support team from other patients and families. So say, for instance, I'm more than willing, anybody ever wants to go on home dialysis and wants to come to our house and have a look and have a chat and even come and see him put himself on the machine, the door's open. And I think if there was more of that, where you had people with this experience there that would volunteer themselves, maybe like a, I don't know what you'd call it, but maybe like a forum or a support group set up, that would have been a massive support for us in the beginning. I think that the family thing for me was massive, because my younger brother especially because he's close to you.
Yes, yeah.
You know,
yeah,
because you're really good friends.
Yeah.
And Aled was looking into it. I was looking into it. We'd come out and we'd say, do you know what? What have we got to lose? Because when you balance it out, these are the pluses. But it was scary, I won't lie. It was really scary in the beginning. And when things went wrong in the beginning, it's scary. Now, when something goes wrong, an alarm goes off, most of the time he needs a nudge to roll over, get off his line and get on with it. But if it goes on, and then we sit, there's been many a night where we sit with the manual on the bed, 2 o'clock in the morning, whatever, and you're looking through how to troubleshoot on there. And the manuals are good, but sometimes picking the phone up and asking somebody might be better, or someone, not necessarily a health professional. I think as patients, we should support our patients' families, we should support each other. And it is a we, you are right, it is a we.
Yeah, I totally
It's not
agree.
just Ian that's on dialysis, it's a family treatment thing, it's massive, isn't it?
Yeah.
I can't support you, we do things together, don't we?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Even at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, we're there reading the manual. You know, she's telling me, do this, do that, do that. I'll just do as I'm told.
but I think if there was a group like that, the support group that could get together, we go to the renal unit Christmas party, don't we? And we meet other patients there, and you share. And I think a lot of that sharing is something that would benefit people. That if there was we've done tea, afternoon tea, haven't we? With Sarah at this time, and I don't know why it stopped, but
Sarah's actually brought a couple of people here for me to show them the setup that we've got with the machine. She's obviously phoned me first.
But I genuinely think if I'd have gone to someone's house in the beginning and they just said, look, it's not sleeping over your bedroom, you can still share a bed with your husband as normal. You know, I've got my side of the room and he's got his side of the room, but it's like there are things that I tend to use our spare bedroom as a dressing room, but it still lets you live your life as normal as you can. Those are some of the things that people are scared of. You know, is normal life going to carry on? Yeah, it's just a new normal.
Yeah, I sat here. Instead of watching the telly, I'm talking to you. Before yesterday, he was outside
building a wall together.
You know, the two of us, which, good fun.
It's nice now. I've only been home for 12 months. I took redundancy 12 months ago and decided to take a minimum of a year out and live on the redundancy money, basically, and just spend some more time. We've done all kinds of things.
Yeah,
it's been quite nice.
Yeah.
Because we haven't spent this much time together ever before.
And we've been married for 21 years. And you get less than that for murder, but that's beside the point. I used to work away from home all the time, and you know, I was away for weeks at a time and stuff. So, you know, there's another side to life, and it's good. You know, it could be a lot worse, and there are people that are a lot worse off, which is something that I always, every day remember. There's always somebody worse off. That helps you get by, you know. And I mean, I've got 3 women in my life: my wife, mother-in-law, and Sarah. Yeah. Marlene or nurse.
Put him into the line if he's misbehaving. Well, you know, I mean, the big thing for us was arranging that cruise. It's just a disappointment, really, that it didn't happen. But, you know, we were going to go on the cruise. We were going to do the Northern Lights, which meant that, you know, we would have adjusted that Ian's dialysis programme, because we'd have been going out at night to see the lights, and we thought we were going husky sledding, we were going to do all kinds of stuff. But it just means that you can, you can live on dialysis, you can go and do these things that you want to do. You just, you know, and we have a machine, so we take it, and that's it. It's simplicity. If you know, life's only complicated if you want to make it complicated. You just simplify what your dialysis isn't complicated unless you want it to be. You just do what the routine is every day. You follow the steps, step by step, and it's always been there. Now it's in your head, isn't it?
Yeah.
But you know, you've got your cards to fall back on. You've got everything you need. It's just a new normal.
There's life beyond dialysis.
Sorry, beyond kidney failure.
Yeah. And by having the dialysis, it means you can enjoy the life more so than what you would without it. If anybody wanted to be in touch or wanted to see our setup,
yeah, once COVID's over or when it's
yes,
do stuff,
when it's safe to do so,
more than happy.
more than no problem at all. It never goes cold.
It's information, really. I'm sure other people like myself are very apprehensive about it. It could do with a nurse like mine in every unit. This is very persuasive. You've met Sarah. It's thanks to her that I'm here and I'm happy and doing it. I would never have considered it myself, but then I'm not the most confident of people. Just it becomes a way of life going to Bangor 3 times a week, but you don't realise how much better life can be. Well, they take you out of your comfort zone. It's so easy just to jump in the taxi and off to the hospital 3 times a week, and it becomes a way of life and you adapt to it. But there are better ways, and I'm so happy to be at home. It's the best for me anyway. And I would dread the day where I have to go back to the old routine. But immediately after my treatment, I do 45 minutes on the exercise bike. That's part of my daily routine. My wife does an hour while I'm on the dialysis, so she'll be on it now, pedalling away. And then we have lunch, then we have a little rest, and then we go out for our afternoon walk. And sometimes we walk along the promenade, depending how busy it is. Otherwise, we've got plenty of other routes we can use. But unfortunately, you have to stick to a tarmac surface because of Heather's trolley. And then I enjoy cooking, so I always make a meal, my evening meal. And then I suppose in an evening, Heather likes the soap. As she's watching Coronation Street, I'll watch the football on the iPad. Yeah, we get by. Our daughter's got us onto Netflix. She has a subscription, and so we're able to watch that on her subscription. So occasionally we will watch that. Get used to anything, don't you? Even dialysis.
Well, the ones I saw in hospital, this is my opinion, I think they were older and maybe they lived alone and maybe that's all they saw every day. You just don't know, do you? You know, like, so you know, you can see it from, if I was looking at from a person which is, say, 70 years old living on his or her own, I would say it'd be better for them to go to hospital because they're going to meet somebody to talk to, as in being in the house all day on their own. You know what I mean? As for me, I'm lucky because of my wife and the family, and I can do this and I can go out. So my wife goes to work. I'm alone all day long now, but usually this house will be full of visitors. So it's one of them things, you know. So for me, well, for how you can change it, maybe I don't know. I just don't know because I just don't know, to be honest, how you could change it for them to it's better for them. I don't know because they're older. I think a lot of them are lonely. I think, and they like the banter of it. You know, it's like, you know what I mean. It's like going into some sort of youth club or, and you know, like a mothers club or whatever. And that's why I think that's why a lot of them go to hospital because they're lonely. I think a lot. Maybe I don't know. Maybe you should have have people maybe like myself maybe go into hospital and show them, well, listen, I'm on dialysis at home and I go out, I go, like, I'm not saying I'm a good walker. I am. The only thing I will say, my walking has gone very slow to what I used to be. But that is because of the way I am now. But I do walk very slow. But I can walk, and that's the main thing. And I do like walking on the mountains. You know, I do, and I always have done. So I still go now on a Sunday, although I might struggle a little bit to get there. But once I'm up on the top, I'm fine then. Walk for miles on the top of flats, and it's coming down, it's quite easy. Going up is the beginning. I could tell them, you know, I do all this. I'm on dialysis at home. Maybe that would encourage them. I don't know. That could be the way forward to show people, especially if they're younger. I don't know. the younger people tend to do home dialysis more than the older ones, so I'd recommend it to anybody. Now I'm thinking, a few weeks back, me and the wife went up on the mountains for a walk, and we tend to go for a walk, say for 2-3 hours, come back to the car, get our chairs outside. It's quite old-fashioned really, but that's the way we are. Nice sunny day, and we get our chairs out and we have a coffee and a cake or whatever, and that's the way we are. And one Sunday we were up on the mountains, come down to the car, and we sat, and there was a family sat further down from us, and there was a young lady. She was from, she actually worked in Cardiff in the radio, Welsh radio, and her mum and dad. And her mum came over to speak to us, and I said, "Oh, do you speak Welsh?" And she said, "Yes." I said, "Oh," says, "Oh, my husband is just finished shielding." I says, "Oh, why is he shielding?" "Oh, he's on kidney dialysis." I says, "Oh, what sort of dialysis is he on?" And she said he was on peritoneal dialysis like I was, but he was doing the day one, where the way he was talking to me, that he could do his maybe an hour in the morning, and while he was having his lunch, he could do another hour and another tea time. So he was quite happy the way he was doing his, and it worked really well for him. As I said, mine's that the only with mine is I have to do the night one, because I have to apparently lie down when I do it, because I have a small hernia in my tummy apparently, and that's the reason why I'm to lie down to do it, as he could do it sitting on his sofa in the lounge. And he was telling me, "Oh, I just switch it on in the lounge and watching the TV and having my tea or whatever," and it does it. And he could live a normal life, have to go to, and he was 77 years of age. So there is people out there who's having it. You know what I mean? So just that he was older and he did sort of try. So I don't know. We should try and get people to do it at home. And I think somebody said to me, I don't know if it's true, is it cheaper for the National Health to have it at home than in the hospital? The thing I do feel sometimes is when, you know what, when Baxter's phoned me for my order for every month for my dialysis, and the lady asks me, and when it comes, I think, wow, I must cost a fortune to the National Health, you know, and I do feel a bit guilty, to be honest. It's fantastic, and this is all National Health, and I'm feeling, wow, I can't believe this. Why am I getting all this everywhere? You know what I mean? I feel like I'm costing. Is it worthy? Is my life worth that much money? Feeling, wow, you know. But especially when you watch something on TV and you see somebody who's really, really poorly, and they could they've got a crowdfunding to try and pay for it, and you think, oh my God, you know what I mean? But there you go. That's life, and that's the way life is going to be forever, isn't it? So that's the way life is. So, but you know, honestly, I'm more than happy on home dialysis, more than happy. But I just feel, wow, I'm so lucky to have all this, because you know, and we are. It's unbelievable. Without National Health, I wouldn't be here.
What was happening is apparently, well, it was in black and white, that if you were on dialysis at home, you could have, well, for disability allowance, as it was then, when you go home, and contact these and you find out about it that way. It wasn't. It was just finding out things by accident, reading about things and like that. There was no formal approach. And it just showed, I think, the clear gap there is between it. So that gap needs bridging. I'm not sure how, probably just by meetings. A real problem, because from the interviews that were held with patients for this study, that need was there. And I think, as you mentioned, it does become a barrier for people not to go on home dialysis. A number of the centres I've been to, and especially the satellite centres, I've had many questions from the nurses and from the patients. What was it like when you were doing it? That sort of thing. How were you trained? You know, how did you manage it? Did the needle come out? All these questions are coming from the professional side as well. So it comes to mind as well, because when I was trained in Morriston, it was a separate room, completely separate room. So it wasn't really integrated to the rest of the unit there. I know now where the training is done now in the dialysis unit in Morriston, that it is in a corner. So it's within the sort of unit, within the treatment area for hemodialysis, unit dialysis, but it's in a corner. So it's important, I think it should be in the open, not like we were put in a room and it was something special going on in it. As not being part of the options that are available. just seen as something different. It's just a bit of a psychic thing, I think, but it would make it more acceptable, I think, more generally acceptable by staff as well as patients. The biggest thing, not just at the moment now, but the biggest thing in my life with the jobs I've had has been changing people's attitudes, without a doubt, particularly if you want to introduce change, going into a unit, or going into somewhere as a new manager and wanting to do things your way. And you've got to get people to change. And it's attitudes that change. They're extremely difficult because they're often well believed and embedded in the people. But there are ways of doing it, of working together, showing how things can happen and bringing people on board. You won't change everybody, but gradually over time, and it will be a time thing, those people retire, go on or move on to other jobs. And then new people come in and you start to integrate them into the new system, the new thinking, and you get where you want to go.
Surprisingly, throughout this pandemic, I actually feel safer now being at home than I ever have. Because I know I've been able to stay at home and really effectively shield myself and keep myself safe, whereas a lot of other patients haven't had that opportunity. So I think the safety of home dialysis and the ability to shield people better in their own homes, I think that's really important.
With this COVID-19, that has certainly made us realise that we have made the right choice, because as scary as this COVID-19 is, you know, I know where I'd rather be, and it's at home here, not going back towards the hospital. And with this COVID, at the very least, I've been thinking, well, every time we go into the hospital, I'm leaving myself wide open to possibly catch this COVID.
Home dialysis is the best way for everybody to go, I think, personally, because then, you know, especially now with COVID, for me, the thought of having to go into hospital with COVID would have scared me, I think, because even though, like, even through the COVID, like, time, I was having phone calls to say, oh, could you come in to this, that, and the other, and I said, no, sorry, I'm not coming into the hospital.